Hey everyone, thanks for watching the demo. I wanted to go into a little bit more detail as to what PowerShell-Empire is all about and what we can do with it. So our learning outcomes for this demo are: what is PowerShell-Empire? How can we obfuscate our attack and sneak into the network? How do we actually use the tool PowerShell-Empire? And how do we protect ourselves against these attacks? So PowerShell-Empire 4 is a post-exploitation framework. That means that you're going to be using it after you've already gained access to the machine. So this isn't what you use to deliver the payload, but it is what you're going to be using once the payload is delivered. In the demonstration, we delivered the payload using an NS lookup against a text record, and that installed the agent of the machine, and then you can use the tool to perform your attacks. But the actual installation of the agent on the machine is going to be taking place, whether it's through a phishing email or a USB drive or any other types of these attacks that we're familiar with. The tool is available in Kali Linux, and you can run these agents on Windows, Windows, Linux, or OS X. So the tool is remarkably fundamental or powerful in the sense that you can run it on nearly any type of device, and then you can use the tool to perform your attacks, whether it be in the PowerShell or Python language. For additional information and how to use the tool and what it's all about, you can go to bc-security/empire on GitHub for the entire repo. So the purpose of PowerShell-Empire is that it allows you to run PowerShell agents without actually needing PowerShell. So the tool you can then use without having PowerShell running on your attacking machine. So you don't have to actually be using a Windows machine or using PowerShell inside of Linux. Even though these things are possible, it still makes it a lot easier using a tool than it is to use it in the bare bones manner. And it is rapidly deployable. So like in this demonstration, we were able to, as soon as we had an agent, we were able to start running commands immediately. We didn't have to start coding different platform or different tools in addition to the already existing PowerShell tool. So this allows you to really make your attacks super fast, super quick, and get in and out as soon as possible, or as fast as possible. And this is a merger between two different projects. PowerShell-Empire used to be run, but was developed in the past, but the project was abandoned. And then there was a Python-Empire project as well. Both of those were abandoned and combined into PowerShell-Empire 4, which is the tool that we're currently using, and that's inside of Kali Linux by default. So how do we stay safe? One of the things that we didn't actually go through in the demonstration was Active Directory enumeration. You can use the tool, because you have access to PowerShell, to run AD commands in a domain environment. Why would a user in a typical business environment need to have AD access? There's seldom ever a reason that a standard user needs to be able to read to Active Directory. So one thing you should do is remove those permissions. Just go into group policy and change the way that the Active Directory is set up for your standard users. How those policies are set up for your standard users. Obviously, as an administrator, you might need those, but good safety practices, security practices, are to not use a root or admin account as your daily account. Use a limited user account, and then when you need to perform a admin role, then you can log into that admin account, do your work, log out, and go back to your daily responsibilities. Another thing that is important for Active Directory, by default, users can join up to 10 machines to a Active Directory environment without needing the domain join permissions. I don't think anyone in here that would be in a systems administrative role or in a security role would want a typical user in accounting or in sales to bring their laptop in and figure out how to join it to the domain so that way they can gain access to the file server on a non-company machine. So again, just go into group policy and disable that permission. The attacks that I demonstrated in here, these are not, most of these have already been patched. So staying up to date on AV protection is really important. You need to be able to say that a computer you have is always protected with the latest security definitions. The problem with definitions is that you do have to download the definitions in order to be protected. So it is a reactive protection there, a reactive situation. A better solution would be an EDR, endpoint detection and response, something that uses AI and machine learning, uses behavioral analytics to determine whether or not the attack that, or to determine whether or not whatever is happening on the machine is legitimate or an attack. Um, there is a case where, let's say, a rubber ducky or the bad USB attack that we've demonstrated. That is going to be firing off commands way faster than any human can type. A behaviorally analytical tool, or sorry, a tool that analyzes behavior can detect that and stop the attack before it happens because it knows that a human is not going to be typing that fast through a device that is emulating a keyboard. For a fun video on this, Google recently released some videos on YouTube called Hacking Google. It's a series of I think 7 or 8 videos. And in one of them, they actually go through what the red team did to hack into Google. This is Google's own employees. And they used something similar to a rubber ducky. And they were able to quickly uh, type in tens of thousands, thousands of commands all at once, or keystrokes at once. So what did they do? The red team then discovered this vulnerability. They worked with the blue team, and they then developed a patch to stop this type of attack from happening. And that would be some form of an EDR. In this case, it's detecting something and responding to it. Obviously, it's not a fully fledged modern next generation antivirus, but it is a small patch that allows the endpoint to then be protected from USB attacks. And then the most important thing that any environment can have is limit the rights to user accounts to least privilege. Local admins are rarely ever needed in a business environment. Sure, in a small company, it might be easy to allow the employees to install Spotify or their favorite word editor, text editor, if it's not Word or it's not Notepad. But in this case, why are those tasks or those allowances being done implemented by the user? Should they not be implemented by the IT team? Now, in many cases, a small business may not have an IT team, and they might be outsourcing it, and it might just be easier for that MSP to allow the users to do whatever they want because now they have less work to do, less tickets to come through. But again, that is not good security practices. So implement a solution. Zero trust is a very popular solution these days. It's being pushed in the market a lot. There is a company called ThreatLocker that I recently looked into, and that, not trying to make a sales pitch or anything, but they seem to have a tool that when you install it on the computer, it allows you to set policies through the tool to then stop any use. First of all, the user is not a local admin; they can't run anything. If the user attempts to run something that requires local admin, ThreatLogger detects that and then alerts the user saying, "Hey, this item was blocked. You're not allowed to install steam.exe, or you're not allowed to run steam.exe at all." And you can set policies to then say, "Hey, you can notify IT and they can approve it. If not, you can set policies to say if it's something is on the allow list, you can allow them to run that. So Spotify is allowed, but Steam is not. Or you can just flat out deny it and report it to your SIM or your SEIM tool, SIEM tool. Um, but the most important thing really is to just make sure your environments are as locked down and secure as possible so that your users stay safe. You, as a red team, have a harder job to actually break into the network, and the blue team is supported by your attacks to make sure that their defenses are able to protect the company from devastation. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll give it back to the team. Take care.